Because, by the way, I have to go through a very vigorous process. Well, unfortunately for you, I ask the questions. But my point is that people like me who want to work in America.
Democratic podcaster and pundit JoJo from Jerz, Joanne Carducci, joined Piers Morgan, Geraldo Rivera, and a January 6 insurrectionist who was recently pardoned to talk about a variety of subjects. In the clip I'm going to show you today, they are looking at a post that Selena Gomez made. She was very upset. She was crying, deleted it. And, Piers doesn't waste any time lighting into her and asking. We will get to the video in a moment, I promise. Piers Morgan is capable of being a gentleman and being gracious and humane, and so frequently he's not. And it's like he's chasing clickbait. I feel like when he has right-wingers on, he tips more into their court very easily and very strongly. And I want to check this out with you together. I'm going to add my thoughts as we go. I'm going to try and keep it at a minimum because it's really triggering for me, Piers Morgan. But then I want to know what you think in the comments. Let's take a look.
Well, Selena Gomez, right? I'm going to play you a clip. This is exactly what I'm talking about the kind of ludicrous hysteria that the left seem to specialize in, fueled by liberal celebrities, that they think works for the public, but actually makes the public laugh at them. Selena Gomez has decided that the correct response to, so far, a bunch of illegal immigrant criminals, including some despicable people, by the way, with despicable crimes, have been deported, that this is the correct response. Let's take a look.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. Children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Now, there's a lot to unpack there, but you should know that she almost immediately deleted it because the instant reaction from Americans was to absolutely ridicule this absurdly narcissistic response from somebody trying to make this all about her, weeping for people, in some cases I've seen, rapists and murderers. What is she crying about?
Come on, dude. Come on, dude. Jeez. Look, is it a great look? No, it's not a great look. She's clearly upset. I would say to anyone, look, if you're in that state and you have the impulse to grab your device and self-publish, maybe don't. Maybe take a breath, right? It's not that she did anything wrong. It's just, have your big feelings. They don't have to be public per se, but to drag it into like she's crying over murderers and rapists, please. That's just the epitome of being disingenuous in this moment. She's not trying to make it all about her. Give it a rest, man.
In some cases, like right here in my state, it was a U.S. citizen and veteran, Piers, that was also detained without a warrant at his place of work. So, I mean, if you want to talk about the rapists and criminals that are being detained, but you're just going to not refer to those situations as well, I mean, we're not really painting a full picture. And I want to just stop really quickly on the emotion that she expressed there. We are traumatizing our society as we speak. We are traumatizing our children. There are kids in my town where I live. My kids are almost 12 and 15 years old, and they ask me every day. My friends want to know when their parents are going to be taken, and will they have to go too? And if they don't go, who will take care of them? There was a video that went around my town last night that children here thought was real of ICE coming and taking kids out of their homes.
Let me ask you.
Let me ask you.
Okay, Jojo, let me ask you. So do you believe then that it is entirely correct and proper that illegal immigrants who've entered the country illegally and are then criminals who've broken the law, that they should be allowed to stay? And what about the million people who've already been processed for deportation under the Biden administration but weren't actually deported, would you keep them as well? In other words, for you, is there no limit to what people can do? They can come in illegally, they can break the law with impunity, they can be processed for deportation, but still you want to keep them in America. Well, what are you saying? It's important to clarify it.
Well, I never said that, but I never said that at all. In fact, I will say that, first of all, my father was an immigrant who came here lawfully from Lebanon, worked for 50 years for the Department of Defense, believed in the shining city on a hill. I would also say that if we're going to have that I believe that, by the way, there's much reform to be made to the immigration process in this country. If I were an expert on that, I'd have a very different job. I'm not. I will say that it needs to be done and needs to be addressed. But if we're going to have the conversation about consequences and rule of law, then we need to have that conversation about somebody sitting on your panel right now who was a January 6th insurrectionist and was pardoned for his crimes. So if you're going to thread the needle on what is acceptable in terms of allowing crime and what is not acceptable in terms of allowing crime or forgivable in terms of allowing crime because of the color of someone's skin or the status of their citizenship, then I don't think this is a conversation about the rule of law at all.
I mean, that's an excellent point, and Dinghole here is going to defend himself. But one of the things that's so upsetting to me about Piers Morgan, and he knows this is good television, it's certainly gotten under my skin, and I'm talking about it, so by that metric, it's effective. It's not either or, right? You can say, as she just has, that we need some reform in this country, and obviously, if there are people who have been convicted of crimes and they're not documented, they're here illegally, I think those people are candidates for deportation, right? So, I mean, it's not either let everybody, all the murderers and rapists just stream across our border and murder and rape us, or deport everybody that even looks like they might be Mexican or from South America, right? I mean, obviously, this needs to be, it's a complex issue that needs to be dealt with in a finessed way. That has been ignored admittedly by both sides of the political spectrum for a long time, and it is overdue. I tend to agree with JoJo that the answer is not, stormtroopers rounding everyone up and we'll sort it out later, get them out of the country, right? What about people that have been here legally or not, documented or not, that have been here as part of a community for, say, 10 years. They have jobs, they pay taxes, they have kids in the school, the kids are naturalized citizens, maybe their spouse, right? That's a gray area. So, I mean, you could make a case that person has got to go because other people did it legitimately and they didn't, but we got to make that case. You don't drag them out and then worry about it later, right? There's a lot of gray area here.
Okay, but just to be clear, because you haven't answered the question, would you let illegal immigrants who break the law
Do I think that people should be able to? No, I don't. I don't think anyone should be able to break the law in this country and have no consequences for it. I do think that there are other ways to handle immigration rather than rounding people up in their elementary schools or going to their places of work or showing up at the groves where they're picking the citrus fruit that none of us will pick. And so that whole thing we don't even have half the citrus crops we used to have because no one will pick it. Do I think that they should be able to commit crimes willy-nilly? No, I don't think anybody in this country should be able to do that. But do I think dehumanizing them by putting it on TV with Dr. effing Phil is the way to do it? No. We've seen this playbook before, Piers. Everyone on this panel knows we've seen this playbook before. This is how you dehumanize people so that you can get clear the path towards atrocity. Okay, and I'm not on board with that.
Let me ask you my favorite. All right, before I go to Brandon to respond, do you know my favorite question for my liberal friends is who was the biggest deporter of them all? Who deported more illegal immigrants than any president in history, pro rata, per year?
You're going to say Barack Obama, right? You're going to say Barack Obama.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm not saying it for any reason other than it is Barack Obama. He deported over 3 million illegal immigrants in 8 years.
Did he have Dr. Phil do it on TV?
I don't really care whether Dr. Phil's there or not. My point is the greatest deporter of all, the man who earned the moniker of deporter in chief in Mexico, was actually a Democrat president, Barack Obama. And I don't remember people like you screaming about how inhumane it all was when that was going on. In fact, most liberals I know have no idea, A, that he deported 3 million people, or B, that he was the deporter in chief.
Why?
Anyway,
No. And then he wants to move on. Anyway, first of all, I've watched a lot more of this clip than I'm sharing with you here. she doesn't scream once, right? He says, you and people like you screaming at the, it's absolutely disingenuous.
Because he didn't turn it into a reality show, Piers. He basically wasn't designed to dehumanize them.
No. Nobody is saying that deportation itself is wrong or evil, right? Nobody, I mean, or if there are people on the left saying that deportation of people in this country, illicitly, illegally, whatever, nobody is saying that deportation in and of itself is an evil thing. That's not the point. It's just that it's not an all or nothing deal, right?
Because he didn't make it into a prop and cops and reality TV. It wasn't the Hunger Games or Running Man. That's why. You don't think this is dehumanizing them, Piers? Do you support that? Let me ask you a question, Piers. Do you support them being dehumanized? I think when you try and say that nobody... I think when you... No, I don't agree with anyone being dehumanized, but I do agree with illegal immigrants. That's what's happening, is it not?
In any country being thrown out, yeah. Because, by the way, I have to go through a very vigorous process. Well, unfortunately for you, I ask the questions. But my point is that people like me who want to work in America or live in America have to go through a very laborious legal process. Everyone knows that. And when we ultimately get our visas, we're called illegal aliens. So, when it comes to dehumanizing, you can sort the language out on that to start with. Let me go to Brandon. I mean, it was interesting there that JoJo, she's so far whacked Geraldo ad hominem, and she's gone for you as well. Just to remind people who may not know, what was your crime for which you were convicted on January 6th?
If you want to hear his answer, you can go to Piers Morgan Uncensored, his channel, and the source material is, quote, "Weeping for Murderers!" ! Unquote. Immigration and Pardons Debate featuring Lara Trump. Okay, so if you want to hear Brandon's answer to why he was convicted, you may absolutely do that. The reason I'm not going to show it here is that I think it's more of this kind of sane washing and whitewashing of January 6th, and I will not propagate that. But again, go to Piers Morgan Uncensored, Weeping for Murderers, if you want to give the guy a fair shake. I don't feel like doing that right now. Let me know what you think in the comments.